One of the memories I remember that makes me feel kind of bad is one time in our ward, Mom and Dad sang a duet. They both were very musical. My dad had sung all the time while he was in the mission field, and he loved the song "Oh My Father," and I found his books that he'd actually used when he was in the mission field. And anyway, one time only I remember in our amusement hall, they used to call them there, and we'd have family activities that. And I can actually remember where I was sitting close to the front, close by the door, and Mom and Dad standing there by the piano and singing a duet. The only time I can remember them singing a duet together. I found in reading my dad's journal, I think I learned to know him better than I actually did. Like I say, he was gone a lot. I was the youngest child. I think Ruth said she was closer to him, and I think that was when Bobby died and he was feeling so sad. Well, I think I mentioned that my dad never did have a decent car. And he was always working on the car. Bless his heart, he didn't have enough money to get a car. So one time, but he let me take his car. I didn't have a car. And one time I asked to borrow the car, and it was just right there in the neighborhood. I can't remember, just a little errand I was running. And he was nice, he let me take the car. And my dad, I come around the corner, it was right on Indiana Avenue, and just a little ways, and I turned on Indiana Avenue, which was the main street, as main as they got in those days. And just as I turned around, the car door fell off. I was so embarrassed. Pulled over, got out, got the car door, put it in, and went home. My dad never complained, but when I got my new car, I was how much I wish that I could have my dad come and drive my new car and know what the cars are like now. Dad had a struggle with money. He had a struggle with, he was a great missionary. His missionary journal, like I said, was a real insight. I think that the thing maybe that I learned from my dad, one thing is books. My dad loved to read books. When I needed help at school, Dad's the one I would go to. I remember one time I had to do an oratorical contest. My dad practically wrote it for me. He told me, you know, things to write, and all I can remember is it started out, I am an American. He wasn't settled in a major profession or anything at that time, where he had a very difficult time providing for the family, that many children. So I thought many times of how hard it must have been as he had to worry about getting to work, taking care of the family. I remember one day when I had taken the pass and I'd gone for a ride on the bus and I transferred. And when I got on the second bus, I don't know where I was going or what I was doing, but when I got on the second bus, the guy said the pass was not valid. It was an expired pass. I didn't even have any money with me. And I was standing by the bus driver not knowing what to do, and I looked out the window and there was my dad. And it was just kind of a miracle that there was my dad, and I ran over and found my dad and came home with him. My dad only had the opportunity to go to 8th grade. And then his dad went on a mission back to Sweden when Dad was very young, and he had a lot of responsibility in the family. So but he always read a lot, he knew a lot. He was the one that we would go to get information. And as reading his journal, he was very, very good at writing. He was very expressive and very knowledgeable. My dad was a very knowledgeable man. He was somewhat a victim of the Depression and the struggles of trying to support all that family at that time and work hard enough to get it all done. Mom had to start the roses. They couldn't afford much, but they'd start little roses all along the fence and put the bottles over them till they got started from the clippings. And my dad liked the roses. He one day got a beautiful peace rose when they first came out. And I'll always remember how much he loved that peace rose, and he'd take us out. Now, see how pretty it is? See how beautiful that is? So one Memorial Day, instead of taking flowers up to the cemetery, I planted a peace rose in my yard, and that represents my dad's love for the peace rose. He did have heart problems most of his life. I remember when I went to California just before Julie was born, and I was complaining about being pregnant and the discomfort of being pregnant. And he said, well, at least you know yours will get over, and he said, mine never will. That year, my dad passed away while we were in California. I was actually on my way home. And that's when his heart problems ended, and that's, of course, what he died of. When Scott went on his mission, and my mother was pretty old, and Jean went with us and kind of helped Mom. And when they went through the veil, well, when I went through the veil, came through, Mother had been crying and crying, and she was very upset, and I was kind of worried about her, and Jean said that she had seen my dad. And she said, he looked so good, and he looked so handsome and so good. So I'm hoping that that's where we'll meet again someday.